Good morning and welcome to the second edition of KSAT News Now, coming to you live from the KSAT 12 newsroom.
Yeah, Alicia, this is our second time doing this, and of course this is all going to be viewer driven. We want to hear from you guys. We're streaming on KSAT.com, the KSAT TV app, and of course on our KSAT Facebook page. So chime in on any of the topics that we're discussing this morning. So let's get to first real quick to our social media question, basically of the week, and that of course involves Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah, which kicks off today.
Yeah, kicks off today. So this is a big day here, and of course we just want to know, what is your favorite part of the Hispanic culture? As you can see right there on your screen. So make sure to share those answers with us on, again, Facebook, on this article right now that we're streaming, and we will try and get those responses to you towards the end of this edition of KSAT News Now.
All right, now jumping over to weather. We know it's been a big topic this week with Nicholas really causing some issues. So Justin, we know you were storm chasing. How was that like for you and the team?
It was exciting. It always is. There's always a lot going on when we go storm chasing, and it's been a busy last couple of years, as you guys know. A lot going on in the Gulf, and there's Nicholas there. It's starting to move away, so that's good news. But we wanted to share with you some videos we shot from Port O'Connor. That's where we were when we were tracking this storm. And I got to tell you, we expected winds to be a problem, but not as bad as they were. This was a really erratic storm. It kind of, I don't want to say it caught us by surprise, but the track of it was kind of hard to figure out, and the winds really intensified pretty quickly. That was on the edge of a pier that was there in Port O'Connor. And this was a house that literally was starting to take on water as that storm surge kicked in. And the odd thing about this storm, and this video kind of tells the story there, is we were right on the edge of where the really strong winds and rain were. You go west, the sun was out. And that's why you kind of got that orange color there.
It looks eerie.
It was
Yeah, it
eerie.
looked like a little apocalyptic, actually. Like some weird stuff was going on there.
A little bit. And this was a house, that was that same house where the water was coming in, but the roof came off. We weren't rolling when it happened, but Bill Caldera, he's incredible. He's one of our photojournalists. Yeah, we were sitting there, we just watched it come off. And it was one of those things where it's pretty wild to see.
I have a quick question for you guys. Obviously, you mentioned Billy Caldera. He was out there with the storm chaser too. What's a little bit of the strategy when it comes to chasing these storms? Because a lot of people are always worried about your safety. We see a lot of reporters do these live shots from hurricanes and sort of like on the coast. So what do you guys sort of look at?
Well, there's a lot of planning that goes into it, and we really closely look at the track. We look at where we think some of the impacts will be, but there's the safety aspect to it. And a lot of people ask, hey, you're telling people to get out of harm's way, and yet you're driving right into it. Why do you do that? Well, I would say we have a lot of experience doing it, and we do it because we do need to bring people that information. There are still people that need to hear that, that need to see that, and need to see what's going on. We always do it very safely, though. We're always plenty on our spot. We're making sure we're away from power lines. Going back to Laura, we remember Anyway. That's for another day. But we pick out our spot very carefully. We were away from that house thinking that it was possible that roof could come flying off. So we knew kind of where to be. But it's important that reporters do stay in a safe place. And like I said, Bill's really good about it too. And it's pretty wild stuff. You have to be prepared to be wet all day long.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Literally don't dry out the entire day. It was 12 hours of just being soaking wet.
A question for you: socks or no socks when you're doing this hurricane coverage or storm coverage?
Socks.
There are socks involved, and thankfully my boots held up this time a little bit, so the socks stayed dry, because your socks get wet. It's like
exactly. You always have to pack more.
And I got to give a shout out to the folks in Port O'Connor. So cool. A lot of them came up to us, asked how we were doing. We went inside a resident's house there. He had a store, kind of a weather center where he was able to detect some of the wind, some of the wind gusts. Helped us out when we were reporting, because we were able to get accurate wind gusts. A lot of people offered us drinks. We did not accept those invitations. It was very nice.
They know you're doing some hard work out there, for sure.
Yes, indeed. And thankfully the damage wasn't too bad. But there was some roof damage, some tree damage. I want to show you guys this graphic here. How busy it has been. These are Gulf Coast landfalling storms last year and this year. I mean, you're talking about, I think we had something like 14, so even in Texas, Hannah, Beta, Laura, Nicholas, Ida, Claudette, we go through the whole list here, but Louisiana especially just hit so hard these last couple seasons.
Well, Justin, we're so glad that you're back here safe
Thank you.
We say enjoy, right? Because this is what we do, but we enjoyed your coverage. And again, we're just glad that you and Billy are here safe.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And Justin, just real quick, what are we looking at for the next few days? Because we know it's been a little bit cooler mornings we've noticed over the past couple of days.
Still going to be hot, and not much changes. Maybe a couple rain chances this weekend. We're still watching the tropics too, but it looks like everything's kind of quieting down, so that is helpful. We need a bit of a break, I think, from this tropical weather.
Amen. Thank you, Justin.
All right, Justin,
All right.
good stuff.
Big news overnight from the West Coast. Governor Gavin Newsom survives and keeps his job for yet another round.
Yeah, Alicia, this of course was a historic recall election that was taking place in California, and basically the premise behind this was that some people there, especially part of the GOP, wanted to get this recall. They got this petition to recall Governor Newsom because of his handling over the pandemic and some of the vaccine mandates there in that state. But as you could see, he got support from President Joe Biden. Kamala Harris also made a trip there to the West Coast, so he survives this pretty good amount of voters came out in Governor Newsom's supporting him.
Yeah, on his Twitter, he posted, California voted no for recall, but yes to science, women's and immigrants' rights, minimum wage, and the environment, followed by let's get back to work.
Yeah, so some interesting stuff out there in the West Coast. Okay, moving on to a local story that has gotten a lot of headlines over the past couple of hours. This is a story that Garrett Berger did. It has to do with property taxes here in Barrera County. Alicia,
I have a question. Yeah, what would you do as a homeowner with an extra $4 in your pocket?
I mean, maybe you could get a coffee. It's
a latte.
Yeah, that might be a coffee or something like that. But this was part of a big vote yesterday by the Commissioner's Court. They voted 3-1 to cut the tax rate for the county's portion of property tax bills. Now, the change, though, not very going to make a big impact.
Well, no, it's minimal, and it equals to somewhere between $3 to $4 in savings a year. That's not much. Precinct 1 Commissioner Rebecca Clay Flores abstained from the final vote, and this is what she had to say.
I am not going to tell my constituents that I'm saving you $4 measly.
Yeah, obviously there, the commissioner pretty fired up. So here's the thing though, again, the homeowners will likely end up forking up more money due to higher property values across Barrera County. We've seen that over the past few years. A lot of people moving into the San Antonio area, Barrera County, so property taxes have gone up there.
All right, in Texas, we know the Queen, Selena, is huge. And of course here in San Antonio, and something that we're always keeping up to date is what's going on with the family. Well, we know that between the Quintanilla family and Chris Perez, the husband of Selena, things went sour back in 2016, and really they haven't been good ever since.
Yeah, again, another story that has gotten a lot of attention here. So, and Alicia mentioned right there, 2016, we know that the Quintanillas and Chris Perez have kind of been going back for a long time since Selena's unfortunate death, but this has to do with a book, right? Kind of explain a little bit of it, Alicia.
So Mr. Quintanilla sued Chris Perez over a TV deal based on Chris's book. That book was, of course, again, really big, a lot of sales, but Quintanillas say the deal was for the family and not Chris to be in charge of Selena's image and likeness, which of course, said that he couldn't do this TV show. But in a tweet, he said, good news, I have amicably resolved my legal dispute with the Quintanilla family. And this comes after Chris Perez countersued the Quintanilla family. So it looks like things are a bit better. That tweet coming in yesterday.
Yeah, some interesting stuff there, of course, and we'll see how that continues to play out. Of course, not knowing the full details of that, but that'll be kind of an interesting thing to look forward to. Okay, moving on to another sort of trending story, top story throughout the day. This was really interesting. There are some spooky sightings going on at a Texas beach. People in Galveston are reporting that they saw Mike Myers. Yes, Michael Myers, the serial killer with a white mask. Kind of explain what was going on here.
This is terrifying. Someone called the cops saying they saw this, what you see on a screen. Can you imagine that? A nearly deserted beach with a man dressed in black with a white mask and a bloody knife. PD did come out to the scene. They did put the man in handcuffs, but this is the thing. They then determined the blood and knife were fake and that it was just a lawyer dressed as the horror movie character.
Yeah, so obviously this was a prank that this lawyer did, probably just to kind of get some attention. We're giving to him a little bit now, but yeah, in the Facebook post, he later posted that he said he would definitely do it again because obviously it's been getting a lot of attention deposition. It's gone viral, but everyone seems to be okay. Michael Myers is not out.
He's not really out there.
Galveston.
You know, I don't know if that's funny, but it's terrifying to say the least.
It's just a weird sight, especially when we knew that we were going to get some storms coming into the area.
All right, and we're learning more details about alleged mistreatment of deputies in Precinct 2. In a two-part special, the defenders break down more than 8 hours of video depositions that could play a big role in the trial of Michelle Barrientos Vela, accused of public corruption.
Yeah, and this is our big story of the day, Alicia. So Dylan Collar, he sat down with us and answered some viewer questions about this story. The first viewer question that we got was, did you really have to go through all 8 hours of deposition to put this story together?
Yeah, we had to spend like, I forget how much it was, $500 and some dollars to get it from the county. They agreed to release it, but they wanted to charge us because it's such an extensive amount of footage. And I watched it once just to get sort of the lay of the land, watched it a second time and logged kind of the key parts, which there were many. And then the big thing was to then have a legal expert watch it, someone that's familiar with depositions, familiar with both defense work and prosecution work, and really get her take on it. And I think it was key to have Donna Colthorpe watch it because she really had great insight into, you know, why these depositions turned into large settlements for both deputies. She was able to sort of describe, you know, how this did not go well for Barrientos Vela and the county for that matter.
Yeah.
A lot of video there, and throughout all this coverage, many viewers have asked, what is a constable and why do we need them?
And that's been something that.
All right, so there we were hearing from Dylan that question, what is a constable and why do we need them? There was so much to cover in these depositions that this is, of course, a two-part story. So we want to know what you can expect from part 2, which is actually airing tonight on The Night Beat. Let's see if we can get that sound.
So part 1 really sort of focused on the hot tub incident and how that really essentially ended the careers of both of these deputies and caused them to, you know, lose their jobs eventually, come back under very bad circumstances. Tonight in part 2, you're going to see more about what their treatment was. We have this photo, this incredible picture of De La Cerda, who was a very high-ranking member of her administration. After being reinstated, he was forced to wear a T-shirt that said bailiff security and had the letters falling off of it. So, I mean, you go from being one of the top people in Precinct 2 to essentially someone that is mocked on social media because you're sort of the lowest level possible. You get absolutely no respect from your employer, and you're having to wear this shirt in public, guarding a courtroom and providing security for a public facility.
Yeah, that is really insightful stuff there. And we wanted to get back to the question that we had earlier about what is a constable and why do we need them. Here's what Dylan had to say about that.
And that's been something that Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf has advocated for, especially with what happened with Barrientos Vela and how that was a black eye for the county. They essentially serve two very important functions. They provide court security for justice of the peace courtrooms, which we have a number of in Bexar County, and that's something that doesn't fall under the sheriff. And obviously, if people are there for traffic citations, small level criminal offenses, evictions, things of that nature, these are highly emotional situations a lot of times, so you need a law enforcement presence there, and that's one of the roles that constables fill. The other thing is that the big duty they have is that they serve a majority of the civil paperwork. Evictions, they are there while someone sadly is having their possessions removed from a home or an apartment. They do a lot in terms of divorce, child support paperwork, so they do fill important roles in terms of keeping the train on the tracks as far as civil courts go and civil paperwork in not only Bexar County, but every county in Texas.
A lot of pieces with this case, and with so much to cover, we wanted to know if there was anything that didn't make the cut.
You could do your own standalone story on the impact her treatment had on the lives of De La Cerda and Moreno. Moreno was a little more composed during his deposition. He was able to hold things together. He was obviously upset by how he was treated, but I think enough time had passed that he was able to describe his treatment without falling apart. De La Cerda, on the other hand, was extremely emotional. He broke down several times. He had to pause on a couple of occasions just because recalling what had happened to him basically caused his emotions to get out of whack, and he couldn't hold it together.
All right, some great stuff there from Dylan Collier, one of our KSAT 12 defenders. So if you missed part 1, you can catch up on our website, ksat.com. Make sure to check that out. And be sure to tune in to the Night Beat tonight for part 2. Here's a sneak peek.
I'm Dylan Collier. Coming up, they are the deposition tapes raising eyebrows. What happened to deputies fired by Michelle Barrientos Vela after they were ordered back to work?
We just weren't treated like police officers.
I think I paced that cell all night.
Find out on the Night Beat.
All right, a new episode of KSAT Explains is out now, and if you have not had breakfast or early lunch, this one, I guarantee you, it will make you hungry.
Yeah, I'm already hungry looking at this footage that we have here of tacos. So this week we did a deep, delicious dive into San Antonio's taco culture. We looked at the history, evolution, and why the taco is so important to our city's culture and identity. So we visited several taco spots around town to check out the classics, traditional, and modern styles.
Piso, tripa, bistec, lengua, cabeza, suadero y pastor.
Food reunites people. Food feeds your soul. Food makes you have a wider way of seeing the world.
Make no mistake about it, San Antonio is the culinary and cultural capital of Texas.
Okay, so that's just a taste of this week's episode. You could stream it online right now at ksat.com. And Alicia was part of this KSAT Explains.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your experience with this, maybe a favorite taco spot?
Yeah, so this was really exciting. I had always wanted to be part of KSAT Explains, so I was honored to kind of join in. Well, the first spot that I visited was Taquitos West Avenue, so I am convinced that they have the best Al Pastor taco here in San Antonio. And I just love the Mexican classics, but really also the birria quesadilla. So anything with cheese, I mean, so that's like the Mexican and the Texan, so Tex-Mex. What about you?
Yeah, you can't go wrong with cheese. Like you said, that's probably the perfect ingredient to have in there. Yeah, I tried out a lot of the birria spots at El Remedio, Birria Barrio. Those were two really spots that have become super popular over the past couple of years. In fact, they're expanding those locations there. But one place that I think should get some attention is Pete's Tacos, right around the corner from here. I love Pete's.
Oh, yes. I was like...
I'm giving them some free publicity right here. This is not a place that we visited, but hey, Pete's Tacos definitely the spot to check out
Breakfast
as well.
tacos, for sure.
If you guys want to chime in on this, make sure to scroll down to this article. So if you're watching us right now, just scroll down to the bottom. We have a question there, and we're asking people what is their favorite taco spot and why. So we should get some interesting responses there, and we're going to reveal some of those responses next week.
Yeah, and then the other big question that we started is, we know it's the start of Hispanic Heritage Month, so here on KSAT throughout all the newscasts, we're going to be sharing different stories and aspects, but we want to hear from you. What's your favorite part about being a Hispanic, Latino, Chicano, Tejano, however you identify?
Yeah, so make sure to chime in there on Facebook Live and stuff. It's funny because I was going through our Facebook Live comments right now, and someone said tamales. That was that,
yeah.
But that's probably a future episode here. We need to
we'll
dive
do
into
it.
tamales.
Let us know.
Definitely. All right, guys, thank you very much for being with us on this edition of KSAT News Now, and of course, taking part in this experience with us.
We'll see you next Wednesday, 11 a.m.